Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Today I'm going to do a little something covering the dollar from prior to 1913 when the Federal Reserve took over the banking system to what the dollar is mostly known as today, which is the global reserve currency and the petrodollar. Now, before I start, as you can hear, hopefully you can hear that my voice is getting a bit better. I wanted to say thank you to all of you that commented your good wishes for me to get better. I haven't been this sick in a while, and I don't believe in taking antibiotics and things like that because I like my body to strengthen itself when I get sick. And unfortunately, this time around, I had to go to the doctor because I was getting a little bit scared as to what was happening in my voice and how congested my lungs were getting. But the good news is that I did go to the doctor, and it was confirmed that I don't have a pneumonia, and that what I had is what I have is a viral infection, which, as most of you probably already know, we have to allow that virus time to get killed off by our bodies. But I was giving a little bit of something to help my throat feel better. I was just giving some lozenges, and I was giving something to help me sleep because I hadn't been sleeping very well at all for a long time. And as you all probably know as well, sleeping is a way by which the body repairs itself. So being that I wasn't getting any good sleep, my body really wasn't getting enough time to do its job and repair itself. So the last couple of nights I've gotten really good sleep, and I feel a lot better, and my voice is sounding a little bit better than what it did before. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this now. I'm doing this early in the morning before I go to work. I plan on putting out another video tonight that I really think you'll enjoy. Not saying that I hope you won't enjoy this one, but I hope you'll get something out of this one. Oh, look at that. If you can see, there's a squirrel going up that tree. Oh, it's gone. So like I said, I'm not saying that I hope you won't enjoy this one, but tonight's video that I'm going to make is going to be, I think, really good. And it's going to cover something that we all as preppers know about and think about all the time. But right now, I'm just going to cover a little bit about the dollar. And this is not intended to be financial advice. As you know, I only have a 2-year degree, which has served me very well. But I am not a financial advisor. This is purely to open up your mind so that you can do your own research, and hopefully you will do your own research. There's a squirrel over there still going up and down that tree. I don't know if you guys can see it. But yeah, this is intended for you to, maybe for a spark to go off in your head, and you can do a little bit of your own research and see exactly what it is that our dollar is and where our dollar came from. Okay, so a lot of this I have written down because I have a terrible memory. So a lot of this I'm going to read off of a piece of paper that I wrote it down on. So prior to 1913, the definition of a dollar, as defined by the Coinage Act of 1792, is $1 was equal to 371.25 grains of silver, or 0.77 of 1 troy ounce of silver, or 24.75 grains, or about 1/20th of a troy ounce of gold. So that was the definition of the dollar prior to the takeover of the Federal Reserve. Okay, in 1913, when the Federal Reserve, which is a privately owned central bank, took over the U.S. banking system, since the Fed took over the dollar, the dollar has lost over 96% of its value. That means that today's dollar would only be worth 4 or less cents of what it was worth back in 1913. So what this is saying is that in 1913, 4 cents would buy you what $1 can buy you today. Okay? How much longer do you think the dollar will maintain its reserve currency status at this rate? And the question is really, in 104, 105 years, the dollar has lost over 96% of its purchasing power, which means that it only has about 4% left of devaluation left before there's nothing else left to devalue. How long do you think that'll last before the dollar is really pretty much devalued out of existence? And here's a little history. On June 5, 1933, the United States went off the gold standard, a monetary system which currency is backed by gold. When Congress enacted a joint resolution notifying the right of creditors to demand payment in gold. So prior to June 5th, 1933, you could buy things with gold and you could pay your taxes with gold. You could sell things for gold. Okay, that was legal. The United States had been on a gold standard since 1879, except for an embargo on gold exports during World War I. But bank failures during the Great Depression of the 30s frightened the public into hoarding gold, making the policy untenable. Soon after taking office in March of 1933, Roosevelt declared a nationwide bank moratorium in order to prevent a run on the banks by consumers lacking confidence in the economy. He also forbade banks to pay out gold or to export it. According to Keynesian economic theory, one of the best ways to fight off an economic downturn is to inflate the money supply. And increasing the amount of gold held by the Federal Reserve would in turn increase its power to inflate the money supply. Facing similar pressures, Britain had dropped the gold standard in 1931, and Roosevelt had taken note. Okay, so this is what this is saying from what I can gather. When Roosevelt took us off the gold standard, and he told the people, you will either turn in your gold or you will go to jail and or face a $10,000 fine. What he was doing was he was increasing the gold supply in the Federal Reserve so that then the Federal Reserve can increase the money supply. And how did the Federal Reserve increase the money supply? Well, since back then our dollar was attached to gold, the Federal Reserve, having more gold, could print more dollars and put it into the economy. But the biggest crime that actually occurred, I disagree with what President Roosevelt did in passing a law that stated that you have to turn in your gold. However, when the people turned in their gold, they were paid the going rate for gold. At that time, 1 ounce of gold was going for $20.67. That's what they were paid for their gold when they turned it in. Had the price of gold stayed the same, the crime wouldn't have been as bad as it was after what they did with the price of gold. Okay? After they collected all that gold for $20.67, they revalued the price of gold to $35. And what did that do? What that did, it nominally decreased the purchasing power of the dollars that were traded for the gold by about 60%. Because now the dollars that they were given, the $20 per ounce of gold that they were given, could only now buy a fraction of the gold that they turned in. So that in turn devalued the money that they were holding in their hands. That was the biggest crime that was committed during that act. Well, it was not that the people were forced, or not forced, but were convinced to turn in their gold by a law that was passed. Because not everyone turned in their gold. The smart people kept their gold. I guarantee you that the elite kept their gold. They did not turn it in to the Federal Reserve. But the people that did turn in their gold to the Federal Reserve got $20 for that gold, when in turn, just a little bit later after they turned in the gold, they revalued the gold to be $35 per ounce. Okay, I hope you guys understand that. If you have any comments on that, let me know. Like I said, this is to open up your minds. Go on in and research this, because I think it's important that people know where our money came from and how our money ended up being the way it is today. Okay, so to continue, on April 5th, 1933, Roosevelt ordered all gold coins and gold certificates in denominations of more than $100 turned in for other money. It required all persons to deliver all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates owned by them to the Federal Reserve by May 1 of that year, for the set price of $20.67 per ounce. By May 10th, the government had taken in $300 million of gold coin and $470 million worth of gold certificates. 2 months later, a joint resolution of Congress abrogated the gold clauses in many public and private obligations that required the debtor to repay the creditor in gold dollars of the same weight and finesse as those borrowed. In 1934, the government price of gold was increased to $35 per ounce, effectively increasing the gold of the Federal Reserve's balance sheets by 69%. This increase in asset allowed the Federal Reserve to further inflate the money supply. And what is inflation, ladies and gentlemen? Inflation is the same thing as saying the devaluation of your money. When they inflated the money supply, the dollars that people were holding at that time was devalued. Okay, now, to devalue a currency like the dollar means that the value of the currency decreases. In the case of the dollar, this is called devaluation. The value of a currency is also referred to as its purchasing power. The more a currency is devalued, the less you can buy with it, because the purchasing power decreases. So remember that every time you hear the word inflation, inflation means the devaluation of your dollars. The less that you can buy with your dollars. Why is inflation good for the government? Because the higher that things are priced, the more you pay for them, the more tax revenue they get from that sale. Okay? Now, to finish off here, the government held the $35 per ounce price until August 15th of 1971, when President Richard Nixon announced that the United States would no longer convert dollar to gold at a fixed value, thus completely abandoning the gold standard. In 1974, President Gerald Ford signed into legislation that permitted Americans to purchase gold again. Okay? So at what point in time did the government get off the gold standard? And when it needed to, so every time that our government has gotten off the gold standard, back in 34, back in 71, every time that it's gotten off the gold standard, why has it gotten off the gold standard? That's the big question. And the answer is this. Each time that our government has gotten off of the gold standard is because they needed to devalue the money supply. They needed to inflate the money supply because they had promised more than what they could afford to pay. And what's one way of being able to pay what you have to pay without having to work for it? It's by printing more dollars and printing more dollars into existence, effectually devaluing the dollars that everyone else has in their pockets so that you can pay your debts with those devalued dollars. Okay? And I went ahead and got one example of how important it is to hold precious metals and how precious metals keep their value over time. Okay, so I went back to 1913 and I pulled up what was the average cost of 1 barrel of oil in 1913. In 1913, the average cost of 1 barrel of oil was 95 cents. So let's just say it was $1, which means that in 1913, you could buy 20 barrels of oil with 1 ounce of gold. All right, so I know that the ounce of gold was $20.67. All right, so, but I'm just rounding to, well, let's round off to 21. Let's say that in 1913, you could buy 21 barrels of oil with 1 ounce of gold. What is a barrel of oil today, or as of yesterday or a couple days ago? Yesterday, a barrel of oil was $63. 1 ounce of gold was roughly $1,300. Okay, so with $1,300 today, you can buy 21 barrels of oil, which means that with 1 ounce of gold today, you can buy 21 barrels of oil, the same number of barrels of oil that you could buy back in 1913 with the exact same amount of money, of real money. Can you buy a barrel of oil today with 95 cents or with $1? Absolutely not. But if you kept your $1 worth of gold or silver from 1913, today you could buy a barrel of oil with that. Okay? So that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got something out of this. Please do your own research. This is very worthwhile researching, and teach this to your kids. That way they understand where money comes from. That way they understand that merely printing money by fiat does not give that money or currency value. That what gives currency value is the capital and expenditure that it went into producing that money or that currency or that tangible item. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, be good to each other. Remember that when good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. When we do this, the world would be a better place. And you know that the world will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and all of your families. Thank you very much again for all of your good wishes. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today. And I hope that you all have a great day. And like I said, I'm going to put out another video tonight that I really think you're going to enjoy. Again, many blessings to all of you. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.